Hey, this is a fun group to be with today. And before we leave, I want to tell you one last story. It's the story of a man who was a sailor, and he was shipwrecked at sea. As his boat went down, he was able to get hold of a piece of wood and was able to ride the waves in until he finally came to the shore of an island. As he stood up and started to walk up the beach, he realized he wasn't alone. And there were all of these people from this tribe on this island that came out and started to surround him. They were saying things in a language he wasn't understanding, and he was hoping they weren't saying, "Oh, look, supper." But it turns out that the opposite was true. They were very kind to him and treated him very, very well. In fact, they took him back to the village and they made him their king. They gave him the best food. They gave him a place to live. They gave him a seat to sit in, a chair of honor from where he could sit there and be the king. And although he thought that was kind of strange, he was really enjoying it. Over time, he got to where he understood their language and was able to speak to them and was able to ask them why they had made him king. And what they told him was that every year on a certain day, it just happened to be the day he washed up on their beach, that they would choose one person, and for 1 year, that person would serve as king. Well, he was thinking that was pretty cool, until they told him the end of the story. And that was, at the end of that year, when he was no longer the king, they would take and they would row him out to this deserted island, and that he would be put on that island until he starved to death. He wasn't thinking he liked this a whole lot. But he was a smart guy, and he started to think what he could do about that. Well, he decided since he was king, he could tell other people what to do. And so he went to those that had the ability to build boats, and he had them make boats so that others could get over to this island that he would be banished to. He then had these folks go to that same island and use the skill that they used to build the boats to build a very comfortable house for him. He had others from the tribe go out to that island and take small fruit trees and plant these fruit trees so that while he was out there, these trees would grow and would give him bananas and oranges and pineapples and things like that he could eat. He went to some who were farmers in the village, and he told them as king, he was commanding that they go over to this island and that they plow up the ground and that they plant grain and corn and those things that he would need so that he could take and survive. Well, sure enough, before too long, the end of that year came around, and he was no longer the king. And they took, as their tradition was, and they put him in a canoe, and they sent him out to that island. But now that island, instead of just being a chunk of rock where he would have to wait and starve to death, was a beautiful place. It had a nice place to live. It had wonderful things to eat. And for many, many years, he lived there, very comfortable and very prosperous. Your young lives are the same way. The things that you do right now, the decisions that you make today, and the decisions that you make over the next couple of years will be those things that will have an impact on the rest of your life. And the choices that you make now, the wise choices, the choices to obey your parents, the choices to not use drugs and alcohol, the choices to study hard, and to work hard, are the things that will let you grow into men and women who, like that man, lived a life of peace and comfort and prosperity, will allow you to live lives of peace and comfort and prosperity. Lives that are good lives, lives that honor your mother and father, lives that let you provide for yourselves and for other people. Life does not begin when you get older. Life has already begun for you. And you are already making the choices that will decide the type men and women that you'll grow into. Looking at you, seeing those smiling faces, seeing how you have behaved throughout this day, I know that every one of you here are destined for greatness and can grow up to be men and women that benefit our world, men and women that you can be proud of. Thanks for your time today. God bless you, kids.